Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. My name is Funmi Owolabi. In today's review, we're going to be looking at a privacy document with this organization. Now, I haven't done privacy documents in a while. We've been focusing on artificial intelligence, but privacy is the bread and butter of the firm. Privacy implicates the entire business because you can't do business without personal data, and there are laws associated with how you can use personal data. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on cookies. I've done cookie reviews in the past. If you're interested in how cookies are being utilized at organizations, and my opinion on what a good cookie process flow should look like, you can see other videos that I've done on cookies in the past. We're only going to click only necessary cookies here. Today's review is going to be on this notice for this organization. I'm just going to hover over the products. So they provide a tangible product, including indoor luminaires, outdoor luminaires, so light products essentially. So I think this is a great review today because many companies think that privacy only applies to large tech organizations, right? Large technology organization. However, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, you can't do business without obtaining some personal data. In order, for example, for this company to sell me a downlight, Funmi Owolabi, right? There's a couple of identifiers they're going to need to collect. They're going to need my name. They're going to need my address at a minimum. And they probably need my email address in order to coordinate the delivery of my downlights. So even organizations that deliver light products still process personal data. It's not exclusive to tech giants. You can't do business without it. And if you meet the thresholds in some states, you have obligations under those data protection laws based on you collecting my name, my email address, and my mailing address to send me my downlights. So that's why I always hover over products. The obligations that this organization is going to have in selling their products is going to be different to the obligations that a hospital has, because a hospital collects different types of personal data. So I think that distinction is very good for this notice review. Let's look at the actual notice. So this notice covers customers, consumers. Now, in this context, in this review, I'm a consumer of this website because I logged onto it. And that's why I was able to exercise my cookie preferences here. As I interact with this site, right? Actually, let's look at it. I don't want to spend too much time on that because I really want to get into the notice, but I want to talk a bit about cookies and like personal data, etc. So let's talk about the targeted one. These cookies are used to show you ads that are more relevant to you. We may share this information with advertisers or use it to better understand your interests. The reason I clicked targeted advertising is because of this. I'm going to exercise my cookie preferences and I'm going to turn targeted advertising on. I'm going to save this preference. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to click products and I'm going to click downlights. Every click now potentially is giving cookies to this entity, telling them, oh, Funmi's interested in core line slim downlight, right? So there is a connection from a technology perspective where they're now able to read that I'm interested in core line slim downlight. So what may happen in the future is I might start getting ads about this because I've interacted with this site and I've allowed the targeted advertising to occur on this site. I've told them Funmi Owolabi is interested in Philips Core Line Slim Downlight because of each click that I've made. I clicked products, I clicked downlight, and I clicked this one. Each of those clicks could allow this organization to then advertise to me on subsequent websites that are outside of this one, because that information could be read to their advertisers. And that's what that cookie notice is essentially saying. And actually, that was the preference center. We didn't review the cookie notice because that's separate. We're looking at the privacy notice for today. Let's go back, but I thought that would be valuable. And I'm actually going to exercise my cookie preferences again and turn the targeted advertising off because I just wanted to demonstrate what this is about. I think a lot of consumers aren't familiar with it, and there's so much. They do actually have a cookie notice as well. If you want me to review the cookie notice in another video, put a thumbs up for this video and let me know that you found it valuable. So I'm a consumer, so I'm okay to review this notice. I'm just going to scroll down quickly. I want to see when this was last updated because I'm very, very impressed with this cookie preference center. It's very good. Okay, I didn't see the date this was last updated, but we might see it as we continue our review. Okay, I also thought it would be valuable. You might be asking, why on this channel are you always doing reviews of these notices? I draft these notices for a living for clients, so it's fun to see what other organizations are doing. It's also fun to look at how much privacy has evolved in the United States. So one thing I do want to mention is the first US state privacy law in the whole of the United States was in California, and it came out in 2018. Now we're in 2026 now. So that was the first US state privacy law. The US has had other privacy laws on a federal level. There's also been some state specific nuances, but the first US state privacy legislation was in California only 8 years ago. So this is a very new and evolving area for many businesses, which is why I think businesses should really start considering having conversations with what are the impacts of personal data on my business, so that they can be able to comply in the geographies where they process personal data. This preference center, in my opinion, is very, very good. Okay, we've drafted this notice in an easy and comprehensible way to help you understand who we are, what personal data we collect about you, why we collect it, and what we do with it. Okay, I want to talk about the tone. I think it's really important for businesses in 2026 to really ensure that their notices are for an audience that is going to read the notice, right? There's different types of privacy documentation we've looked at on this channel. We've looked at terms of service. We've looked at AI terms. We've looked at cookie notices. We've looked at cookie policies. We've looked at privacy policies. We've looked at privacy notices. I really like the tone of this notice because it's easy to read for those who are in scope of this notice. These are the type of people that are reading this. Now, we know that the type of customers that this organization has, based on a review of their product page, are those buying lights. It is not legal personnel. It is not privacy lawyers, right? It may be privacy lawyers. I'm reviewing it, right? But generally, the people that are reading this notice, the customers, are people buying lights. Businesses need to be asking themselves, are those buying lights going to be able to understand how I as a business treat their data? And is the tone reflected in the notice I'm presenting to my so-called customers, right? This is not a document that's distributed amongst privacy lawyers. It's a document that's distributed amongst people buying lights. So the tone needs to reflect that. And when you have a privacy counsel assist you in your drafting, the tone should reflect that. We've done reviews on this channel of privacy notices that appear to have a very legal undertone, in that the drafting of the notice appears to be for a legal audience, right? There's specifics that us legal professionals understand outside of customers that are trying to buy lights. I really like the tone. I really like the cookie preference center. I think it's very good. Okay, keep in mind that personal data in this notice, also referred to as data or your data, means any information or set of information from which we are able directly or indirectly to personally identify. I want to talk about this sentence as well. Again, when we look at tone for our notices, we need to see, would our audience understand what this information means? That's why I think it's very valuable for businesses to have definitions. That's what this is. This is a definition of what constitutes personal data. Most people buying lights don't know what personal data could be. But now this business has taken it upon themselves to explain what could constitute personal data because they're giving you the definition. So I think that's really valuable as well. The only thing that I might slightly tweak is having a date in here. I already reviewed that. I think having a date would be really valuable, but as long as you're able to meet your obligations in the geographies where you process personal data, I think that's okay. Not every geography requires you to put last updated on your privacy notice. So understanding in which geographies the lights are being sold would be really valuable too. And it's one of the questions I always ask my clients on my intake form. Let me know in which geographies you are processing personal data, because then I'm able to give you advice on what your obligations are in those geographies as well. The last thing we're going to talk about is, I think I've talked about this before. Anytime you are drafting a notice, it's really important to consider putting the name of who the data controller is on the site. And I would say one of the most important reasons for doing so is because if any of your customers, consumers, or other business persons for this particular notice want to get in touch with you about fulfilling any of their data subject rights, they need to know which legal entity to address. If you're a global organization, putting the name of the respective data controller is going to be valuable in order to allow consumers to fulfill the rights they have under the data protection laws that apply to them. I really like just this slim review of this notice. I think there's a lot of things that I personally think are going very well. Obviously, I didn't review the entire thing, but as part of their general legal streamlining and legal processes, if you're going to represent certain things on your site, it's really important to have a privacy lawyer review it for you, draft it for you, make sure that you're headed in the right direction. And I think being proactive about privacy is a far better stance to take than putting out a notice that doesn't reflect your business and putting yourself in a potential sticky situation with a regulator. So I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you have comments, let me know, and I'll see you in another review.